Hey everyone, welcome to Jarvis Garage. Today I'll be installing some aluminum fenders on my Jeep JK, the front and rear. I did a quick review on these fenders. I'll go ahead and put a link above if you want to check that out first. But I'm going to go ahead and get started on the front fenders. There's 6 10mm bolts you got to take out all along the bottom here, and then I'll show you that. Okay, now that you got all the bolts out, you want to go ahead and disconnect the light. Okay, once the light is disconnected, we can go ahead and get the fender out. Okay, if you have any of these black clips left over, go ahead and pull those out. Alright, so first step in installing this fender, once you get everything cleaned out, is you install these 4 clips. Let's see, they have threading in them. So this piece will get mounted in here, like so. You can see 3 of the holes are already lined up. There's 2 others here, and then you'll have to be bolt through on these other ones. So want to loosely mount these using the 10mm bolts you pulled off from the fender. So you want to save those. Put that, start this off here. Make sure you mount everything really just loose, hand tight. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and put in the 3 bolts that I can tighten down right now very loosely. Then I'll go ahead and put the also nut and bolt wherever I can, just to kind of get everything where it needs to be. So right here, you want to use a short bolt, put it through there, and then use a nut that they provide. Okay, now that I put all the bolts in loosely, I'm going to go ahead and tighten them all down. Okay, now that we got everything tightened up and looked at where everything's located, looks good. I'm gonna go ahead and mark off the holes that I need to drill out. So it'll be one here, one here, this one right here, one here. Now this one here, you can leave it out if you're not planning to use the inner fender. If you're gonna use the inner fender, there's a little bracket, the L bracket, that'll mount to this hole here. But I'm not using the inner fender, so, and then we'll here. This hole also is for that L bracket that would hold the inner fender. So, but that doesn't go through any structure. Okay, so once we got the fender back off, you also have to take out this inner bracket, because you have to drill out these 2 holes. And I got 1, 2, 3 more holes here. And then I'll be using a 3/8 step bit, or you can use a 3/8 drill bit. So let me go ahead and do that. Okay, next thing you need to do is install this bracket. You're gonna have to put it in place and then actually drill all the way through this hole back with a 3/8 drill bit. Okay, so I have the bracket in place. I went ahead and put this bolt just to hold the one hole in place for now. I'm gonna go ahead and drill through this hole out the back, and then I'll do the same for the other. I'll go ahead and mount this one. Just so it doesn't move around. We'll go ahead and drill the next one. Okay, now that we have all the holes drilled out, and we'll go ahead and reinstall the bracket, put all the screws in loosely again, and then start tightening it down from front to back. And that should be it. We'll move on to the back. All right. I'm using all the short screws. I'm not using any of the longer ones, except for where I'm bolting it down over here. All right, got it all mounted up. Bolts tightened down. Everything aligned, so I'll go ahead and get started on the back. To remove the rear fenders is pretty easy. Just pull it up pretty hard. Comes right off. And pull on the inner fender. Okay, now that we have the stock fender off, now we have to mark out which holes we have to drill out. We have to drill out the 7/16 for the nutserts that are going to go in here. I went ahead and marked them out, so you're going to skip the first one, then the second, third, fourth, skip all these, and then you're going to do these three, and then skip the last one. I just held up the fender to figure out which ones I could mark out, and then once I'll go ahead and drill these out, put the nutserts in, and then I can tighten it up, and then I'll mark the other 3 holes that I have to put in, 1 for a nutsert and then 2 for the side bracket that's going to be mounted in here, and it's going to line up with these 2 holes. So I'll go ahead and do that now. Okay, now that we have the holes drilled out, I'm going to go ahead and use this Astro 1442 nut insert tool. Bought on Amazon. It was about 60 bucks. But the fenders didn't come with a little tool that it says it would. I imagine they would give it to you, but it's just a small little thing. But this makes the job a whole lot easier. So, but you just screw the nutsert on there. Make sure this thing's open. Put it right in the hole all the way, and then push it down, open it up, and just unscrew it out. All right, I'm gonna put in the top 2 screws, and then I'm gonna mark out the additional 3 holes we gotta put in. Go ahead and do that now. And when you mark these up, you'll kind of see that there's a bit of a gap here on this side. So you'll have to kind of work it out from front to back once you start to tighten all the bolts down to get this to close up. I had the same thing on the passenger side, and it all worked out. But right now I just want to mock it up, mark the holes as best I can, or as accurate as I can, and get the rear bracket in, and then start to put in the rest of the bolts. Okay, now that I have 2 bolts in this fender, I'm going to go ahead and mark off the additional 3 holes. Would be 1 right up here, and then 2 here that go to that cross brace. So, okay, I have the fender back off. I'm going to go ahead and drill out the holes with starting off with an 1/8 inch drill bit, and then this one's going to go to a 7/16, and these 2 is a 3/8. Notice here there's already a hole in the body. It's really close to, but doesn't line up to that hole. So try to stay as far over as possible, because you're gonna just end up back in that hole. So that's what happened to me in the other fender. So see, real close to the other hole there. So I'll go ahead and put the nutsert in there. Okay, final 2 holes, the 3/8. Okay, so the hardest part of this whole process back here is getting this bracket up behind here. Then you're gonna have to drill out to the back side, take the light off, and then bolt it on. So I'll go ahead and do that now. Okay, so those brackets are really tight fit. What I found seemed to be easiest to get this in is to try to start it down here, line it up, and then try to hold it to the back wall as far as you can. Just try to wedge it as high as you can there, and then tap it with the rubber mallet. So once you can get one of the bolts in, you want to go ahead and put the bolt in, and then you can adjust the rest of it in. You can use a screwdriver to kind of align the hole, line, put the bolt in, and then try to get the other one lined up. There you go. Looks like both of those lined up pretty well. The bracket's still not fully sitting on the back panel here, but I'm gonna put everything in first. The fender, bolt it up loosely, and then I'll go ahead and drill. The final thing will be drill those two holes to the back side and put the bolts in. So for most of these, actually for all of these, we'll go ahead and just use the short screws. The long screws that come in your kit would go on these two. And then you can use short or medium sized screws for the two holes in the back. And then there's also an additional bracket that I'm gonna go ahead and do after we go and bolt everything down. This should be the last thing you can do. Okay, so I've loosely put in all the bolts from here to there. These two bolts don't line up. The fender kind of comes in a little, so you have to kind of use some persuasion over, put the bolt in loosely, and then once you have it in, then you can start tightening everything down. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that now. All right, I got the fender all bolted in, so the last thing I have to do is drill out these two holes. Use a 3/8 drill bit, and then run the bolts behind. So I'll go ahead and okay, now that I drilled through, I'm gonna go ahead and put the bolts in. Let me show you. So I take the rear light out to be able to get into the bolts that are back there, or the holes that you just made. So the light's pretty easy to take out. All you have to do is take out these two screws and it pops right off. So these through, these don't need to, just these two. And slips out. Just hang it right there. So I'm going to put the bolts in, and I should wrap up the back here. Okay, it's time to go ahead and bolt this bracket here. I'm going to use these smaller bolts with the washer. Just kind of put it in place. Okay, so once you have this bolted in place, you just have to match drill these two. Notice on the other side that I couldn't get this top one in because it's right at the structure. So I'm just gonna put the one bolt through here, same nut and bolt through here, and then it's all set. Okay, let's put this final bolt in. Okay, this is the final look of the fenders. I really like them. They give me about 2 additional inches of clearance and very solid. So like I said, these tie into the substructure of the Jeep, and should definitely handle some hits. And they weigh total less than 50 pounds. So actually probably less than the stock fenders that it had. But and I like the look. So I'll be painting the inner fenders, the inner wells, so look out for a video for that. And hope this was helpful.
If you liked it, please give me a like and or just leave me a comment, see what you think, or if you have any questions, I'm here to help. All right, take care. This is Dark's Garage.